excited to come on and talk about psychic abilities, or pick a pile psychic abilities. One thing is with this, doing psychic abilities with pulling cards is a little bit interesting, but how we're doing it now is a little bit different. So we do have pick a pile, but we are actually channeling specific guides that are coming forward with messages. So it's not just about what your psychic abilities are, but more of a message of, at least in my piles, of where you need to focus your energy to expand your psychic abilities, or to open them up further. So that's kind of how it is. It's a little bit hard to word everything that is included in this, but it should help you kind of know where to go from this point right now. And remember that in any of these videos, you take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So it's a general reading. You know, there's 4 piles to choose from, and there's way more than 4 abilities, actually. So it's gonna just help you kind of get an idea of where things may be for you. So before we get into that, though, I think it's important for us to introduce ourselves so that you can get to know us if you are new here. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Lalantia. I'm a psychic realm channeler and energy healer, and I specialize in working with the magical realm. So I work with dragons, unicorns, mermaids, fairies, all of the different magical guides. And on my YouTube channel, which is, you can look it up under my name, and it's in the description below as well, I channel the different beings about messages that they want to bring forward. I share about my experiences working with them, or different ways that we can work with them. I just do videos about teaching about the different magical beings and spirituality in general. And so that's a bit about me. Basically, everything comes back to that connection with yourself, with your authentic self, and being able to show up in the world as the most authentic version of yourself, and learning to accept who you really truly are, so that you can radiate that out into the world and attract to you all of the things that are meant to be in your life, and so that you can show up in the world in a purposeful way and doing the things that are important to you and being a part of the change on Earth.
Yeah, I love that. Hi, you guys. My name is Nathalie. I'm a cosmic medium, an intuitive reader, and artist, but also an animal and nature communicator. So I work mostly right now at this time, I work mostly with galactic and multidimensional beings. I connect with them on a daily basis and work with them on a daily basis. So I work with a lot of people who are ET contactees or abductees, and just discovering that. I work with the different types of abilities that come along with that as well, because as contactees often have these psychic abilities that show up when we have this contact. And yeah, I also do portraits for people regarding their spirit guides. For example, I do a lot of different like creative stuff all together. And it also seems that I have a lot of different modalities that show up from time to time. So I do a lot of different creative things all at once. And I really love being a support for people who are just discovering that we're not alone out here in the universe, and how to connect with that and integrate that in a daily life while we're here on planet Earth together.
Yeah, I love that. And that also connects with our own galactic past and our past lives in other galaxies. And one thing with Nathalie is that I know for Nathalie and I both, and you'll see, like, if you watch our videos, that, you know, when we channel these other beings, like, we describe what we see, and it's not going to fit in any kind of box. You know, there's a lot of unusual types of beings out there. So yeah, that's kind of just like one of our specialties, is being able to help you understand and be able to knock down those boxes, those walls around the belief systems that are here on Earth that have limited us for so long. Nathalie and I also have a group together. So our group is called Sorceress Circle. It's free. It's on Facebook. We do lives 3 times a week. So we do our weekly readings, which is pick pile, but it's also channeled messages just like these are. And it's just for the energy of the week. And then we channel on Wednesdays for those who join us on the live, and as many as we can. And then on Friday, we have conversations, and our conversations are posted here on YouTube as well. But if you want to join us live and be a part of the conversation, then definitely join us on Fridays for that. Let's see. Okay, so we also want to remind you to like and subscribe and share the video. I did like take a note. We took notes of everything we need to make sure we do in the introduction because we forget. We just like to skip over all this stuff. But yeah, make sure that if you're not subscribed to our channel and you resonate with what you see here, make sure to jump to subscribe, whatever button you need to push for that, and like the video, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let us know what resonates with you when you are watching the video. What part of it really, really hits home for you, and what are you taking away from the message that you're getting personally for you? And we would love to know which pile you picked and which parts of the pile really hit home for you. So I think we're ready to really actually start into the piles. Oh, also, there is one more thing. So if you didn't already pick your pile, which you may not have, but it was on the screen. So when you clicked to the video, you should have seen it in the beginning. So if you did not pick your pile, you can take a moment now to tune in, see the 4 piles in your mind's eye. Drop out of your head and into your heart. And do you feel drawn to pile 1, 2, 3, or 4? And if you feel drawn to more than one, then that is fine as well. You can pick as many piles as you want. You can watch the whole thing and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. It is all up to you. There's no right way and no wrong way. So who wants to go first? Do you want to be first or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I would love to go first. Like that would be totally fine.
Okay.
All right. So for pile 1 in this psychic abilities reading, the spirit guide that showed up for you guys was actually a forest fae. So it was a beautiful, bright energy coming forward, and it actually showed me that it resides in another dimension. So it's actually an energetic being, but it was showing itself as part of the forest and representing, or rather manifesting, as a being put together by branches, twigs, and flowers, even pieces of moss on certain parts of what we would call its body. And it was like floating around in perfect harmony with the forest. It was so beautiful to see, because it was like really representing itself as part of the forest. Yeah. And it told me that the name that it wants to be called is Adinda. And the message that she brought forward for you guys today is that you are someone who is very in tune with the natural world around you. You have a very big imagination, and clairvoyance comes very fluently for you. You also have a big capacity for feeling into energies around you and trusting in what you are perceiving, even if it's not on a physical level. So that's what I was doing as well. I was tuning into her energetic wise, but she was showing a physical representation of herself in my mind. So you are very attracted to the 4 elements and working with them in your life. You are very capable of knowing what your body and spirit needs in this way. So for example, when you feel ungrounded, your body will crave the earth, and you will feel like you have to go outside for a minute or to go on a walk for a minute. So you can really feel that connection with the ground beneath you. Or when you encounter difficult emotions, you will intuitively connect with the element of water. And they were showing me taking a bath, or taking showers, or even visiting bodies of water or the sea, and like going with the flow of your emotions in that way, and strengthening that within you by co-creating with these elements that are always around us, right? So you know what you need to be brought back into balance in that way. You are a very empathic person with a big heart for nature and animals, as well as other people, is what I'm feeling. You view all these things as equal and understand the natural order of things. You are someone who sees the magic in every small detail of life, and this makes you very compassionate towards other beings, not only other humans. You have an affinity for healing through herbs and crystals, and I would not be surprised if many of you actually already have a healer kind of job, or a being of service to others kind of career as well. So what I was thinking was like someone who is a nurse, someone who's a doctor, but also as well, what was coming up was people who take care of the elderly, people who work in animal shelters, like that kind of being of service kind of stuff, like working with children as well. You have a very heart-centered energy and use it to guide you more than your mind. So this means that you go with what you feel instead of you go with what you feel kind of person. And when it comes to making decisions, you're not over analyzing things with your mind. I feel like you're going more with what you feel is right. This serves you very well, although you must be sure to tune into what feeling is truly yours and not something that you picked up on or are picking up on from someone else or something in your surroundings, is what I was getting. And she told me that you have a very natural talent for working with all sorts of elemental beings, but also animal and nature spirits. So the message here was really to follow your heart's guidance when it comes to recognizing and deepening these connections. They all regard you as a true and loyal friend and will help you in whatever area you want guidance on. So definitely a lot of connections for you to make here, and definitely like a very deep connection with this planet. And that actually showed up in the cards as well for you. So the first card that showed up for you guys, and this is a fairy card, was ego, the illusion of being trapped, placing too much importance on material items, getting caught up in fear and worry. And I definitely feel like for some of you, this card represents your own ego that you have to let go of to like deepen this connection, to see how these abilities are coming forward for you. And for some of you, it is having difficulties living in a world where everybody is so materialistic, because I feel like you're a very natural person. Like I feel like loads of you are going to be like wanting a house somewhere in a forest and there's nobody out there for miles. So I feel like for some of you, it is taking a step back from that materialism. But for some of you, it is just learning to deal with the fact that we are living in a materialistic world at the moment, and that some of you, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, are not going to understand why you don't really care about these materialistic things, and learning how to deal with that as well. So the next card that showed up was Ace of Autumn, a windfall of money, advice, or assistance from others, a very successful project, a happy change in your career.
I feel like that is, sorry, it's just like coming through so strong. So I'm jumping in, but it's that trust. A lot of times when we are spending more time in nature and in connecting, and then, or we struggle to make the time to connect in nature because we need to be working, we need to be making money, we need to be doing something. So this is that reminder that you will be provided for. Money will come to you in different ways when you feel that, when you allow that connection to happen, and remember that they want you to receive the money, but they also want you to be a part of helping them in changing the world, the new earth, building the new earth.
I love that, because I was feeling that as well. So I definitely feel like a lot of you who might not be in these career paths already are definitely like trying to shift that in your life. And this card is really like validating when you follow your heart in that way and be of service to others. Like that is definitely something that's gonna pay off for you as well. And these beings are definitely supporting you in that.
Yep.
And then we have physical health, vitality, power, balance, and how you look at your own body, like being in your body at this time, like on this planet. And as you can see, like a lot of root chakra energy going on over there as well. And like the example that they even gave was like feeling ungrounded and your body letting you know like, oh, I need to go outside. And maybe you're not even in a point where you're in your spiritual journey where you're recognizing like, oh, I'm a little bit ungrounded, but your body is telling you what to do either way. And you're going to start learning to recognize that within yourself. And then we have intuition, trust, insight, consciousness, and guidance. And I love this because it's so bright, like I almost can't show it to you guys. And it's so cool because I was telling you guys that this fairy that was visiting me was actually an energetic being, and like that really represents this to me, and that it was showing up in a representation of itself, like it was giving a physical representation of itself. But this is actually kind of what it would look like if we would look at it from a perspective of it being an energetic being, and like trusting the intuition that you have, and like trusting that you know that there are energies surrounding you, and tuning into those, and knowing that you're tuning in on something that is real, like trusting that feeling that you're having.
Yeah.
And I thought this card was so perfect. We have Earth Guardian, stay rooted and grounded.
Oh, so specific and right. Like,
right? Like I was like, yeah, this is definitely like that card was meant to be in there. Like that is how I actually like view this energy that's coming forward right now. Like this is embodying what you're supposed to be doing, and this is like embodying that energy fully.
yeah.
And then I also got shaman, trust in higher forces. And that was something that was actually coming forward in the channeling as well, that many of you might have these shamanic, these shamanic talents, these shamanic energies that are coming forward. You're definitely like very connected to that natural way of living, that natural order of things, you know, and that natural world. So yeah, I thought that was such a beautiful addition as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely feeling like this really, well, I guess it's obvious to say really earthy energy, but I also feel like there's some people who don't have an awareness of this yet. Like maybe you've been in denial of it. And so you're like, what? This is so crazy. And maybe you don't believe in fairies, or like this being, I would probably call a nature spirit because it's part of nature. It's like embedded in nature, right? It's such a part of it. But you may not believe in them yet. And I actually have a video on my channel. It's called, it's a message from the fairies for 2021. And there's a channeled message. Well, I channeled them when I was in nature. I can't remember how I brought it forward in the video, but I share the message from them about the believing in fairies. That's basically what the message was all about, that importance of deepening our connection with them, and allowing ourselves to believe in them, because we've been conditioned to not believe. And so it can feel far-fetched, it can feel impossible, it can even, you may be thinking right now that, oh my goodness, they're crazy if they really believe that fairies are real. But it's just about keeping an open mind. And when you keep an open mind, then that door can slowly open for you.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like they brought up a lot of different stuff that is connected to you. So definitely like some beginner points, like the herbs and the crystals that were coming forward, and having like that connection with nature. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and communicate with fairies all day once you've seen this reading, you know, but it's definitely like opening up the different possibilities that you have.
I'm hearing that for some of you that you are a holistic doctor, or that you are leaning towards learning that and working with herbs and plant medicines, and being able to bring them to people and help other people with that. And that's definitely also a past life connection for many of you.
Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful addition.
Awesome. Are we ready to move on to pile 2?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So this one is very different. I feel like we kind of switched roles here, because I had well, no, I guess she's a magical guide. She just has more of a galactic magical guide energy. And her name is Kumara. The first thing I heard the moment I tuned in was her name, over and over, Kumara, Kumara, Kumara. And she reminds me literally of a superhero. She has wings that are really big, and so she can fly, but she has these gold clasps on her wrists, on each of her wrists, and on her ankles. There's a lot of gold energy around her as well. But she's a warrior, and she reminds me a bit of well, I guess I wrote a superhero, but she has a galactic energy. She has a magical galactic energy. We'll put it that way. So she didn't get specific about where she's from, but she is telling me that it's very, very far away and that we don't know, like what I'm getting from this is we don't know the planet. We don't know that place yet. It hasn't been brought to the awareness here, brought to people's awareness here. She is actually a guide of mine. She said that she's gonna be sticking around, that we're gonna be doing some work together. So you guys may see her more on my YouTube channel or in some of the work that I bring forward. So this is not the end of Kumara, but she is the guide that is stepping forward for those of you that picked Pal 2. Now she said that your superpower is your strength. Now this doesn't mean that it's your own ability, your only ability, but this is a part of everything that is this is a part of what's going to help you with your psychic abilities. So she says that the strength is connected to your psychic abilities or your intuition, if you prefer, and all of it is connected, and it's also connected to your warrior spirit. So you have the ability to tell when people are lying to you or aren't being completely honest, or even when they're just not being authentic. You can tell, you know, a lot of people fake their confidence, and a lot of times it's not easy to tell when somebody's faking confidence. We think it's our own insecurities that make us believe that they truly are confident, when in reality they're not any more confident, but they're building their confidence by faking their confidence in some cases, not always, as they might not always be doing that work. But you can tell, you can see through that more than maybe the average person. And if you don't believe that this yet, some of you aren't yet at that point, the more that you connect to yourself, the more you'll strengthen this, and the more you'll be able to recognize when people are lying or when something isn't authentic or real or right. Like you can just feel that things are a little bit off. So the more you connect to yourself, the more you'll be able to see that. So you have to trust in your knowing. Knowing is right now your greatest superpower as far as your psychic abilities. And sometimes we question our knowing even more than some of our other abilities, so everybody's a little bit different. So it requires a lot of trust, and that's why connecting to yourself and learning to trust strengthens this. So you have to strengthen trust in yourself, and the more you get to know yourself, the more you'll know what that is. So knowing is likely one of your strongest abilities, but it isn't your only ability. So it's going to work with other abilities, but right now that's kind of what is coming up the most strong. Knowing is also closely related to feeling, so it can be a little bit of both or kind of crossover between them. You can get them mixed up, but it really doesn't matter. Whatever your ability, it requires you to stand in your power. So that's what is coming to, is standing in your power, your strength, and your own authentic self. So being able to express who you really truly are. So Kumara will help you in finding the strength to believe in yourself and your warrior spirit. She can help you in getting consistent in your practice, which is really important, and in learning to trust in what you get. Her message is, don't ever compare yourself to anyone else. Your superpower is just as amazing as anyone else's. Because a lot of times we, even, Nathalie and I, in our psychic abilities, we can look at another person and be like, oh, there's such a better psychic than us. Like, no matter what it is, we're always like, people as humans, and just meaning as humans in general, we tend to look to others as always being better than us. But no one else's ability is better than yours. Your ability is perfect. Abilities are perfect just as they are. So don't compare yourself. And oftentimes people believe that seeing is the great gift, but in truth, you have it all. And with dedication, practice, and a strong consistency in connecting to yourself, you will master your abilities as they all are slowly beginning to open. And don't forget, strength of character is also key. So I feel like you have a really strong integrity, like you're very connected to your integrity. Integrity is important to you, but you don't necessarily like look at that as you don't see it as a negative thing, but you haven't thought about it. Maybe that's the best way to put it, is you haven't thought about the fact that actually you are very high in integrity. Now, high in integrity is also remembering to let go of judgment, because you don't want others to judge you, so don't judge others. For some reason, that felt like an important thing to say. Now, for the cards, they kind of they flow. I'll show you. So we get unfinished symphony. So what I'm getting from this is that there's something in your life that you need to use your strength and tie up those loose strings. So those things that maybe you have like just kind of let float by and haven't really dealt with it. Now is the time to deal with that, because that is a part of stepping into your warrior spirit and strengthening your abilities and knowing, and your other abilities as well, really. And then we have time to go. And this means that, you being able to walk away and move on to the next thing. So time to go is just, you tie up these loose strings, you finish that symphony, whatever, and then you move on to the next thing. And that's just going to allow you to step into that strength and into your superpowers. That superpower energy is so strong with her, I have to say that. And this is also accepting what's dying. So there are things in your life that it's just time to let them go. And that is where you're going to really be able to step into your strength and your most authentic self, really. So I think all of that flows together pretty well. And then we have peridot as the crystal. And it says so much life in you. And remembering that you have a lot of life in you. We have that that magic cup you can drink from for more strength or more whatever it is that you need, more magic, and bringing that, in more for yourself as well. And then there's some animals on there that may have significance to you as well, but peridot can help you in that connecting, it's very connected to your heart as well. And especially as you're, I'm getting that you're probably healing a lot of things to be able to step into this energy. All of these cards are very much around healing and being able to let go of the old and the past, letting go of old stories and old fears. And all of that is going to require a lot of work in the heart space, which peridot will help with. And that will help you in moving into your strength and your superpowers.
Yeah, I really resonated with that pile. And I think you gave such a perfect example of the knowing, because I remember having that knowing ability. It's really hard to recognize that for yourself, especially like you said, when you have people surrounding you who are untruthful or aren't authentic towards themselves. Like, I have been in a situation where I was in a relationship and I felt in my heart, in my gut, this person was lying to me. And I trusted them every time. And then every time, spirit brought what was not right to light, So every time I got that validation, like, look, they were lying to you. Like, look, trust what you're getting, because you know what is right and what is not, because you're in that integrity and you can recognize it when other people don't have it for themselves, or like are not in that integrity towards others. And I had to walk into that wall for like 5 times before I started trusting that feeling. And that is where the strength really comes in, trusting and knowing that you have the strength to weather the storm of people lying and lying and lying in your face over and over again, and knowing that it will be brought to light. So don't be afraid to trust in that, and don't be afraid to have strength within your knowing, because it will come to light. And you will be like disappointed when you couldn't find that strength to trust within yourself, because it's a lot harder it's like a betrayal towards yourself when you're not trusting in that feeling. And that is 1,000 times more harder to accept than someone else lying to you, because you can say like, oh, okay, they're just not on the same path as I am, or they're just not being honest towards themselves, so of course they couldn't be honest towards me. But it's like a lot harder when you know that you have been ignoring these things for yourself just to make it easier, and like having that strength to believe that what is really happening, like that's gonna catapult you into a whole new level of knowing yourself as well.
Yes, exactly. And also remembering that, it starts from intuition. It is building from that place of intuition. We all have intuition. We all have psychic abilities. We all have all of the psychic abilities. We may not necessarily be called to work with all of our psychic abilities. They may not all open in our in our lifetime here. It may just be a process. You may just not be ready for all of that to come in. I know for myself, I had to let go of needing to know it all, and they all opened up and they all worked together to create a full picture for me. But I had to work with just a little bit at a time in the beginning, and knowing can be very subtle. They all can be very subtle. Even seeing can be very subtle. Your seeing can be just a color, or you go into meditation and there's a guide standing there and you don't really see the guide until like 10 minutes into the meditation. You're like, wait a minute, there's a guide standing right there and I'm not seeing it. Like it can be very subtle, and a lot of times we think it's going to be super obvious, and that's just not the case. Usually it starts out, and even still for me, it can be very subtle a lot of the times, but it's about letting it in. It's not about seeking it. It's about opening yourself up to receive it, because it just comes back to you. No matter what, there's going to be guides available to work with you. There's always going to be an energy there, and you are always able to read energy. I'm just going to put it that way. Read energy, because everything is energy, right? But being able to read it as energy, but it's just within ourselves, and our human selves block that energy because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't see that we are good enough or worthy enough or whatever it is. So once you let that fall, then it can become very simple. It's not a difficult thing, but we make it a big thing and make it hard for ourselves.
Yeah, I love what you said about like the energy does not lie, right? It's like us having these illusions put in place for ourselves, or like having the filter, but the energy in its core will never lie to you.
That's right. Yeah, and that is a good point about the filter as well, because our filter, our own preconceived notions, our own experiences. It's just like when we channel, we use words that we know, even though it may not be words we use, we still know the words. So a lot of times when I channel, that the energy comes in a particular way, and it's like there is no word to fit this. And so sometimes the translating the energy is what can be difficult, because sometimes it doesn't fit with words that I actually know. But it's being able to let go and just let it be whatever it is without an attachment to it. And when we can learn to know when our filter is affecting it, when our own preconceived notions about things. So for fairies, for example, if we have an idea of what fairies look like, then we can create them in our mind of what they actually look like, and we project that onto them when we connect with them, instead of allowing them to look however they look.
Yeah, I love that. Like that totally resonated with me. And I think it's so cool because it actually matches up as well with the pile number 3 that we're going to move into. So that's really cool because that was actually also a personal guide of mine that came forward. So I was really surprised when you said that. And it does have overlap in the ability. So that's really interesting as well. So for pile number 3, this is your spirit guide. And the guide that came forward is actually a mantis being. And she's a personal guide of mine. Her name is Krikina. This is not actually her name, but this is the name that we decided on because a lot of beings don't really use names to start with. And even if she would pick a name for herself, that would be in a language that I would never be able to translate, just like Lalantia said, sometimes it's finding that way of translating that works for both of you,
Yeah.
So she's actually a white mantis. She has a very big head with very big gel-like eyes, like that, like her head is almost all eyes, and she's a very serious but also a very kind energy that comes forward. So the message here was that you are a very science-minded or science-oriented person, and really in your mind. You will not just accept what others tell you. You do your own research or learn from personal experience. You're a little prone to overthinking, as you like being validated in your experience or the info that you're receiving, but you do not want to influence your mind or your experience with things from outside of yourself. So, for example, that I wrote down, because I know that it might sound a little bit complicating, But for example, she said, like, you might be seeing something on the television, or you might be seeing something on social media, and after that you're experiencing it for yourself, and you'll be like, oh, but it's because I saw it on that show, I saw it on Facebook. And most of the time it's actually just that trigger for you to open up your perspective, to let that come forward for you. But we try to like discredit ourselves in that way, and not like, I have this too, because I really resonated with this pile. Of course, it was my own guy that came forward, and I really need to remind myself that it's not a bad thing when we see things from outside of ourselves and then we experience it in a personal way. We just need to be really clear about what is our own experience and what is why we were picking up on that outside of ourselves, right? Because like I said, sometimes it's a trigger to shift your mind into that possibility coming forward for you as well. So um yeah, and you have a tendency to discredit yourself or experiences in that way when you are taking up too much information from outside of yourself. So I definitely feel like you're also a person who's really like closed off a little bit, like a person who is very comfortable being alone in that way, and like being your own critical thinker and seeing both sides and asking yourself questions, and like being very comfortable in your own energy, and not really wanting to like talk it over too much with other people. So yeah, I was also feeling that as well. Although you are a very quick learner and your logical mindset makes it so that you understand or grasp difficult or intricate concepts quickly, you have a talent for understanding that everything in this universe is energy, and for working and creating with the universe in this way. You are a master manifester, and everything seems to flow easily into your life that way. Although we have to be aware that because we manifest things so quickly, sometimes we create things in our lives that might not always be what we want. So, for example, she gave the overthinking or the negative thought patterns that are creating unnecessary struggles. We have to remain conscious of our own energy at all times, and maybe get out of our own head a little bit more often, because a lot of the times we are creating these situations that are presenting themselves, right? Like we are overthinking, we are having a critical mindset, and that like closes off the miracles that might have come into your life, and it's creating more hurdles and struggles just because you're so in your mind about things. So you need to step a little bit back from that. You have a natural talent for energy healing, not only yourself, but also others. You are able to tune into not only the physical body a lot, but also the energetic body very easily, because you have a very good understanding of how energy works, because you view it as a normal part of the universe. So what I'm also feeling is that you're a person that can really, I don't want to say dumb down, but like you're like at the base, you know that everything is energy, and you can really make very logical connections in that way. Or you can very easily pick up on certain energies coming forward in someone's body or someone's etheric body, just because you know, like, oh, this energy is coming forward and I'm picking up on that energy. So that is logical that that would be creating that effect in your physical body, right? So you have a gift for claircognizance, was what I was getting as well, and telepathy, so mental communication. Be aware that your thoughts are not only always necessarily your own, but also information or beings you're picking up on. You might feel that you're able to see through other people very well. And with this, I wrote down seeing what is true and what they are when they are portraying themselves differently. So that was what Lalantia was talking about as well. So you can very easily discern if someone is being truthful with you or not, or you can very easily see when people are portraying themselves as different than what they actually are, or their intentions, portraying their intentions differently, was what I was getting as well. And this is because you're so in tune with the energy of what they are representing themselves to be, or what they are speaking about. Like, you can see the true energy that is lying behind what they're saying, or you can see the person for the energy that they truly are, and what they are actually like pretending to be towards you. So this can also be that sometimes you pick up on this and they don't even know it themselves. Like, that was something that they wanted me to mention as well, that some people don't even know that they're lying to themselves. Like, some people are so comfortable in the illusions that they have put up for themselves that they not necessarily are consciously lying to you, but it's more like an unconscious thing. And like, this can get you into trouble sometimes. Like, I've had that in personal experiences where I'm like, oh, this person is definitely lying to me. And when I would like confront them with that, they would keep at it like, I'm not lying, I'm not lying. And that's because, and then I had to take a step back and look at that and realize like, oh, they don't even recognize it for themselves at this point. So of course, how could they recognize that they're like putting that on me, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why you're very good in giving advice to others, because you feel into the energy beneath the surface of what they are asking about. So that was definitely something that was coming forward as well. And also, I'm now getting that you're like a really motivational speaker as well, because you really talk from like the core of your being. Like, you're someone who's really out there and you're not scared to like tell the truth, and people are really attracted to that as well. But the message also came in that we just need to remember to tune in and take that advice for ourselves sometimes. You feel what the energy is telling you. So don't let your mind take over in those moments. And this is something that I resonated very deeply with, of course, myself, because this is definitely something that a lot of us logical minded people do, is like knowing that there's deeper energy on the surface of that, but just like kind of like putting blanks on our head and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just pretend that I don't feel that way, or I'm just gonna pretend that I didn't pick up on that, to make it sometimes easier for ourselves. And I think also sometimes we recognize the energy, but we're start to overthink it so much that we're starting to doubt if what we're feeling is really true for ourselves. So the first card that came forward was fourth chakra, Archangel Raphael. And that's the heart chakra. So yeah, I definitely felt like tuning into our hearts a little bit more would be a very good thing to do. This is so funny because my first pile was so heart and feeling oriented. So that was really funny when this showed up for this pile, who is more like in the mind and not really tuned into their heart as much in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have willpower, expression, assertivity, self-control, and direction. Like, yeah, I definitely felt like you you know what to do, but sometimes you're doubting yourself, and like you have to recognize that you have so much willpower to get where you want to be, and you can't let yourself be stopped by the overthinking, by the anxiety, by the negative thought patterns that you're supporting within yourself.
Yeah.
And then we had third eye chakra. So yeah, again, tuning in a little bit more into that intuition when it comes to making decisions, instead of like making logical decisions because it's logical for our mind, right? And that reminds me again of like that heart-centered decision making, like tuning into our intuitive selves a little bit more. And then we have passion, desire, fun, fulfillment, and joy. Again, like very related to the heart, you can see. And like, this is also something that really came up. Like, sometimes we're too analytical. Sometimes we're too, oh, I need evidence for this and I need validation for that. Sometimes you just have to follow our passions and trust that it's going to bring us somewhere we want to be. Then we have like a lot of cards showed up for this pile. It was so crazy. Like they were flowing out like crazy. And it's intelligence. So this is knowledge, flexibility, and perception. So yeah, that was definitely like showing up for your pile as well. Like that is definitely representing who you are at your core. But I think like the flexibility on this card is like telling you to take a step back from that sometimes and reminding you that this is not the only part of our being. And then we have, you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. And this was really interesting because I didn't expect these cards to show up, but they did. And it says, star ancestors, hidden secrets, lost wisdom, look a little deeper. Which is really cool because I definitely felt like there's a reason that a galactic guide showed up for you guys as well.
Yeah.
And like, again, that being in your mind. So maybe you're someone who doesn't believe in galactic beings and you're like, oh, that's not possible. There's not like life on other planets or stuff. And like, this is really confronting you to take another look at your views and like step out of that mind for a moment. And then we have keepers of the earth. You are not alone, and ancient ancestors stand beside you. And I thought that was such an interesting thing to show up as well. And it's like, how funny is it? Star ancestors and then keepers of the earth, like ancestors are with you. So yeah, definitely you have been through many lifetimes. And I think that you have been two sides of the coin. And in this life, it's really like your turn to incorporate these as one being is what I'm feeling. So do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, so I'm definitely feeling like a lot of people who pick this pile are definitely very much in their heads and very like scientifically minded. Like they need proof. And this is like you get proof in letting go of the need of proof because you will receive the proof through your own feeling, knowing, seeing eventually, all of these other ways. But you have to let go. Like if you need proof, you're probably not going to get the proof because your need to get proof, that's going to push that proof away. So you're going to have to learn to let go because you cling very tightly to things. And I'm definitely feeling like some of you are kind of scoffing at us a little bit right now. Like, they are a little crazy. They actually believe that there are beings with eyes all over their face that are galactic. Whatever it is that you're thinking, but I can definitely sense that there are some of you, not all of you, some of you aren't like, some of you already believe, but some of you are definitely like thinking that we are a bit crazy, and that's okay. Like you don't have to believe us. If you want to walk away right now, that's fine. But I do know that you are here right now for a reason. You received this message for a reason. So you have to make the decision whether you're going to allow yourself to open up to receive whatever you are meant to receive, whatever part of this is meant for you, and not just shut it down and think that, we're crazy people. But it's up to you. We can't do that for you. It's your decision. But you're here for a reason. And I mean, you have to have the door cracked open a little tiny bit to have gotten to this pile. And I mean, just to this video, I guess, even just to this video, you have to have it open a little bit to believe a tiny bit in this and in tarot and oracle cards, because it's pick a pile. So maybe that's how you found us. But it may be really hard for you to believe. And once again, I said this for another one, but I have a video on my channel that is a message from the fairies for 2021, and that is about believing. And they talk about how to believe. It's about how to believe in them, but it's relevant to anything. How to allow yourself to believe, and it's letting go of our, everything that it's letting go of these things that we have been taught and let ourselves believe in things that maybe our parents and the world, the people around us may not believe in or know about, or what we were taught as children.
Yeah, I love that. I love everything that you added. And yeah, definitely. I had that feeling as well. And it's so funny because I recognized so much of myself in that pile. And I was like, oh man, like these are things that even I am still working on, and like even I am stepping out of these boxes of having like that limited thinking and like tuning into my intuition in those moments that I feel like I need to make a decision and it's gonna impact me in a big way, and like get out of my mind when it comes to these decisions. So yeah, and it's like I can totally see myself a year ago picking this pile and like not even being able to imagine me being here today and talking about galactic beings and like being in contact with ET beings. So yeah, I love this pile, and I'm so excited to see who picks it and like what they resonated with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm curious about what people are feeling right now, what's going through your head. There is there is an owl that is coming forward and reminding you that your heart you have the wisdom, but connecting to your heart is going to show you what you already know. But you're going to have to be able to let go in order to see what you already know. You don't have to believe what we tell you. In fact, you shouldn't just believe what other people tell you, ever. You should always we're here to help you, to open up to the idea of different things, but you need to be tuned into yourself. And that
Yeah.
connection with your heart and your own wisdom is going to tell you what is right for you and what is wrong for you. So you already have the ability to tell when people are lying to you, but you may not be aware of that ability yet because you're so disconnected from yourself. You've been so
Yeah.
wrapped up in what you think you need to believe or what you have always believed in the past, and now it's time to let that fall down and connect back with yourself. And what does your heart tell you? When you connect with your heart and you connect to your own wisdom, what feels right to you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important because sometimes what we feel in our heart is so contradictory to what we know in our minds.
Yes.
And it's like very confronting for people who are so like in their mind to look at that within themselves. So yeah, that was good advice.
Yeah, when the owl came in, I was like, okay, there's an important message here. So we'll do this. But yeah, definitely. Like everybody is wise. Everybody has their own wisdom. We disconnect from it because we need to survive in this world. So as children, we went into survival. We blocked these things that kept us um from being connected to our true self, really, because it felt unsafe. It felt like too much. People didn't believe us, and we shared with people. If we shared with people, they said, no, it's your imagination. And we just told ourselves it was our imagination and we let it go. So
Yeah.
time to get back in touch with that. And that can be the starting point, getting in touch with your imagination again. That can open that door for you. All right, are we ready to go into pile 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so excited about it.
Awesome. So pile 4 is about adventure.
Ooh.
So I was actually like, when the guy came in, I was like, adventure? Really? Like, it seems a little bit weird, but yeah, I knew it was right. Like, it felt exciting to me. So you strengthen your abilities through adventure, through a lightness of spirit, and not in taking things too serious. So you may actually also be like the last pile. You may actually already be a very serious person, or you may not. It can go either way. So the guide coming forward is a fairy called Portia. She appeals to your inner child and that sense of ease. Your strongest ability may be feeling. So feeling is definitely a big one for you. And through experiencing joy, you'll open things up faster for yourself. So that sense of adventure and things that make you happy and bring you joy. This doesn't mean that your other abilities aren't strong. This is just the starting point or the focus in this moment. So nurturing the feeling within you. For some of you, you may have been blocking feeling a lot. Like feeling, a lot of times we shut off feeling because it's too much, especially as we grow up in this world. It doesn't feel safe to feel a lot. And if you're a big feeler, like you guys in this pile, you're big feelers, but you may say, no, I'm the opposite of that. And it's because you are a big feeler that you shut it off. So it was too much for you. So you had to let that go. Now it's time to kind of open that door back up again. And that's through adventure and joyful things that make you happy. You may be trying to force things a bit, and you may be clinging tightly or trying to control things. That's what I was getting, that some of you are trying to control things that you're not able to really let go. And it's time to let go through doing fun activities. It's also about practicing. So actually what I'm getting in this moment about practicing is just feeling your emotions. So you start with feeling your emotions. And this came up in the reading that we did in our group today, actually the day that we're recording this, about feeling into your heart. What is your heart saying each day? And so I'm getting that for this, like listening to your heart. What is your heart telling you in each day? What do you feel? And this is something I say all of the time. If you follow me, you have likely heard me say it before. But if you write down on a piece of paper or you say it out loud, I say to say it out loud. You don't have to say it out loud, but it's putting it out there. And it's saying or writing, if I'm honest with myself, what do I feel right now? And it's in that saying, if I'm honest with myself, that things start to come up that we just did not really look at. And it can be uncomfortable, but that is opening that door to feeling. And that is what is really important. And when you feel, you're going to feel really good things and you're going to feel really unpleasant things. And that's a part of it. There has to be a balance in that. That's part of being human. It is important to practice your abilities and your feeling like that, but also in ways where you're letting go of attachment to receive any particular thing. So when you do it, it's not about going in and being like this determination to receive a particular thing or to have an aha moment. It's just about going in and it will be whatever it will be. Nothing has to happen. It just will be whatever it will be. And it's in that letting go that you're going to receive a lot more. Now is the time for fun, excitement, and adventure. And this energy opens up the energy for your feeling to grow. So that's basically what I've already said. This can be things like, this can be connected to your inner child. So there can be some inner child healing. For many of you, I feel a really strong need, like you need to connect with your inner child, that you shut down a lot of stuff when you were a child. You may have been a very serious child where you kind of shut things down regarding feeling and just let yourself be more of a studious or intellectual type energy. Or you may have had a home where you couldn't let loose, where you weren't really allowed to let loose, and maybe your parents ran a bit of a tight ship, so you weren't allowed to have an imagination, and now it's time to nurture that within yourself again. It could also be that you did let loose as a child, but as an adult, you got serious and you just kind of forgot. You had to grow up. So when you were a child, you had a normal, if there's such a thing, childhood where you played and, I talked about this not too long ago about how, we would go out when I was a kid, we would go out, we would play in the whole neighborhood until the streetlights came on. When the streetlights came on, then we had to go home. And yeah, the world is a different place now that I'm an adult, and we don't necessarily let our kids wander neighborhoods as much, some places maybe. But this is that, like, letting yourself let go, not keeping track of time, like being able to go to the park and just play or go for hikes in nature without this time limit. Oh, I only have an hour, and then we limit ourselves to actually having fun. But if we have this unlimited time or not necessarily having to do anything within a certain period of time, it helps to let that go. So Portia wants to take you on adventures. She wants to help you see the world with fresh eyes and to enjoy life and truly live it. So really, really living life through experiences and, stop holding back, stop containing yourself so much, because you're not letting yourself live, like truly live life. You may be saying things like, I'll do that when I have more money, or, it's just like when we're little kids and when I grow up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Are you doing any of those things? Probably not. I mean, I did some of those things when I was a kid. I loved the National Geographic, and somebody, a grandma or an aunt or something, got me a subscription to it for at least a year, maybe longer. But I had, and it was the kids version, I think. And I had the posters that came in it all over my walls. I also had a subscription to what's it called? World Wildlife Fund. Is that what it's called? WWF? I'm not totally sure, but anyways, it was for kids, and we would get posters and little postcards and stuff. Anyways, I would have, that was more animal based, but I had these pictures all over my walls, and I said that when I was going to grow up, I was going to go to all of these places. You know, the animals was more traveling to places where those animals lived, but the National Geographic, like pictures of different places all over the world that I wanted to visit. Now, I have traveled some as an adult, but not nearly as much as I wanted to as a kid. So this is where it's time to kind of assess things. You know, where are you not really living because you need to make more money, or you need to, I don't know, whatever. The life kind of holds us back because we think that we can't do that. Now, I know that sometimes money is an issue because you can't just take off to foreign countries with, you know, no money in the bank, but are you even actively manifesting it? Do you believe that you can make it happen? You know, start to move into that and let yourself dream again. Let yourself move into that energy of excitement and create for yourself these things that you want to do. So the cards. So it was really interesting because we get a lot of like healing energy with the cards. So it's showing things that need to be done in order to move into the energy. So this is mending. And so there may be things in your life that need to be mended, that need to be healed. I do feel like this inner child energy, we actually see what looks like an adult and a child. Looks like an adult and a child to me. So it could be this connection with your inner child and mending some things with your inner child and building that connection back up again. Healing things from when you were young definitely feels really important. Now we also have the orphaned energy. And with this, I feel like it's going to be a little bit different for each person. This could be like literal in the sense of like maybe you were adopted or something like that. So you may have something to heal around that when you were from when you were a child, but it may be right now you feel very alone. You may feel very alone in the world, and that you feel like maybe dreaming about things feels a little bit too big and too impossible. Maybe your dreams are more about having community and friendships, creating your own family, that kind of thing. So that can be your focus right now. Now, if you are dreaming about traveling the world and going on adventures, and I do feel like many of you are, but you don't want to do it alone. You feel like you're so alone in this world. This is where you need to heal that within yourself about like finding that you are enough as yourself. Like, I know for me, thinking about traveling the world alone is a little bit, it feels a little bit lonely, but I can look at it in a positive way. I can look at it as if I travel the world by myself, I can go anywhere I want to go, and I don't have to have somebody else like say, oh yeah, let's go do that. I can do whatever I want. I can stay wherever I want. So there are positive aspects to it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to, because once you heal this energy within you, then it's very likely that somebody's going to come into your life who wants to do that with you. So healing that orphan energy of loneliness. And then it's about being true to yourself. You know, when you're true to yourself and what you really want, then you're going to attract those people to you that are aligned with that as well. But if you're not in tune with that, if you're not connected to what you want and being true to yourself, and you're instead just doing what others want you to do or what you think they want you to do, then you're just going to attract people to you who aren't actually in alignment. So the more you are true to yourself, the more you're going to draw those people in, and those people can travel the world with you or drive to the beach, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It doesn't have to be travel, but you know, we want people to have adventures with us. That's just, and for the most part, that's what we desire as humans. We want those connections. So we have to heal that within ourselves in order to get aligned connections. Otherwise, our connections are going to be, I mean, they're going to be beneficial either way because we're going to learn something from them. But we want to have connections where we can have a joyful time, you know, really enjoy ourselves spending time with them and not have a lot of drama and difficulties. So the crystal is coming forward is green fluorite. And it says, is this mine? So this is about if you have been holding on to like some of the things that you're feeling. So you're a feeler. So a lot of the things that you may be feeling right now may not be your own. You maybe have collected other people's beliefs and feelings, and other people's energy is just kind of layered on you. And this is about lifting that off. Now, fluorite to me is also a crystal of clarity. And to me, it's very like for the mind and kind of calming the mind. And it's a great, I think of it when I think of crystals for students, I think of green fluorite in general as one of them. So fluorite can help you kind of find more clarity and the calmness in your mind. If your mind is super active, this is a really, really great crystal for that. And you can ask Portia to help you find what adventures are for you, because some of you were saying, I don't even know what I want to do. I don't even know what would be fun for me. But I do encourage you to look back to when you were a child and what you wanted to do when you grew up. And even if it seems like things are totally bizarre, like you wanted to be a princess, well, you want to be a princess when you were a child. How about going to visit castles in Europe or in Scotland or England or Ireland or wherever? Like, why don't you go visit some castle somewhere? You know, that may be that energy that helps nurture that within you. So these things that may have seemed like impossible when you grew up, it doesn't need to be totally literal, but what can you take from that? Okay, I think I'm done. You have anything to add?
I love the example that you gave, like when you were small, you wanted to be a princess. Like, it doesn't even have to be like that literal thing that you said. Like, maybe you just want to be treated like a princess by the relationship that you're in or something like that, because the community came up as well. And the example that spoke to me the most was what you said about giving yourself time without looking at your clock and planning in the hours. I love that example because that's such a small thing that you can do. And I recognize that within myself, like, oh my God, like that is something that I need to be so aware of. Like, I do that all the time, that I feel like, oh, there's not enough time. Like, I'm not going to be able to do everything that I want to do. And like, even when I'm relaxing, I'm looking at the clock, like, oh my God, how many time do I have left, you know, to relax and to do this and to do that. And yeah, I thought that was such a beautiful and small thing that we could be doing to start like having that connection with ourselves again.
Yes, I love that you pointed that out again and the importance of that, because I do agree with that. I am someone, there are times when I work best under pressure. So time is good for me, like just to push myself to actually do it, because I can be a procrastinator. But I also can often not be able to really, truly, deeply connect if I have a time hanging over my head. And I am someone who needs to flow with the energy of every moment. So if I set a time for myself for certain things, then it just stifles the energy. I'm not able to flow with it because I only have 30 minutes to meditate. Well, that 30 minutes is basically trying to get out of my head that I only have 30 minutes to meditate, you know, and I used to have to do that back in the olden days when kids went to school. It's funny, it was only a year ago when they were in school, but back then, you know, when I'd have only like a half an hour to meditate, it was a bit hard for me. And it was when I was able to let go of time more and be able to just flow in with each moment, that things became a lot easier for me. And I prefer that now. I don't like having a full schedule. To me, I'm not someone who schedules in a bunch of people in one day. Most of the time, sometimes it happens, but I like to have my days pretty open with a few things spread out through it, and then having also several days in the week where I don't have things scheduled. Now, if I have things scheduled every day for 7 days, yeah, that doesn't really work for me. I need lots of time. I'm that flowing with the energy. I don't necessarily always feel like doing particular things. So I have to flow with what feels right in each moment. And that is something I have had to learn, especially since my divorce and being single, where I was able to make my own schedule and not have to, oh, I had to make dinner at a certain time and having to get kids up in the morning. I mean, especially the past year where I don't have to get kids up. Well, they still have to get up to do school, but they don't have to go anywhere. So it's literally the very last minute. And it's like shoving a computer in their face and telling them to log into school now. And then we start the day because they don't have to go to a live, like a class online until later. So then we can just kind of go with it. But that seems to kind of work for us, you know, and that doesn't work for everybody. But I had to find my way here. And I think that that's what we're learning as we're creating the new earth, as we're manifesting this new earth. We're learning to let go of the rat race. This reminds me of when I was a little kid. My dad had friends all over the place, and they would come and visit us. And they were like, I don't know, I always thought that they were really weird people, even when I was a kid. And I kind of see how even now that I mean, everybody's weird now. How I see it is everybody's weird in their own way, but they were a little bit unusual. But there was one guy I remember so clearly this conversation. We had picked him up from the airport. I'm sitting in the back seat and he's going on and on about the rat race. He lived in Minneapolis. And he was going on about the rat race and he's spending 4 hours in traffic every day. And I was like, that would be so cool to live in a city. You know, I'm just like focusing on the city and all these tall buildings. And I've been to Minneapolis many times. I was familiar with the city. But when it comes down to it, do you really want to spend 4 hours every day in traffic? No. A lot of people do it though. Even when I'm watching things on TV and I'm like, I can't believe that they sit in traffic for, like, they commute 2 hours, 4 hours a day. So anyways, that we're kind of programmed that we need to fill our days up with things. We need to be doing. And that doesn't work for me at all. And when I get into that, I just feel very disconnected from myself. I'm very ungrounded and I feel very lost. And so everybody kind of has to find their own way. But I feel like those of you who pick this pile, it's very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I love that. And you're so right. Like, we're programmed to think that we have to trade in hours of our life to get something back from that. And it's actually not the case. And it's only in slowing down that we start to recognize that as well.
Exactly. And we put pressure on it when we have a time period. So it's just like if I'm channeling and I only have a few minutes to channel something, then I'm like, I need to get the information now. I need to get the information now. But if I sit down, I'm like, I'll get the information or I won't. If I don't get the information, then that's okay. I'll do it later. And there's no attachment to it. Then I usually get the information. I'm done in 5 minutes. You know, I channeled both of these guides for both of these piles and pulled the cards in probably less than a half an hour. It all came through very quickly, very clearly. It wasn't effort. And there was no pressure to get it. You know, I figured, you know, if I'm not in the right energy, then we're not going to do the video anyway. So, you know, I didn't attach to a certain thing. And, you know, Nathalie and I have a flow going. We know that if we're not in the energy, then we'll just postpone the video. We do it when it's the right time. So there's not ever any pressure for either of us to make sure that we get our stuff done. We do it when it's the right time to do it. And that's why there may be some inconsistency in how much we post, because maybe we have a bad week and we don't do a video for a week or two. I mean, Christmas, we had a lot going on over Christmas and with New Year. And so, yeah, there was a period of time there wasn't a video, but that's okay. We just flow with the energy. It will be what it will be.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I have had so many times that I do try to push it, and then I have to reach out to you and say, my technology is not working. Or like every time that I try to like rush it or like get it in time, or it just like something happens and I'm not able to do it. And that's like me needing to let go of that, you know. And you always tell me like, oh, there must have been a reason, and then the day after it just works like normal. And it's like, oh my god, like sometimes I really need to let go of those expectations and like having that pressure on myself. So yeah, I think this was a beautiful message to close off those readings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was perfect. I feel like very much in the flow now. Should we do another video?
I get it.
It's funny how that happens. It's like once you just get in it, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think that's something
Yeah.
we forget. We don't realize how simple it can be. So yeah, we will let you guys go though. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that the message or messages made sense for you, and make sure that you leave a comment for us and let us know which pile you picked and how it resonated for you. And we will see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye, guys.